Hi, this is Ed Eagle, and I'm here to talk with the Enrons about your new favorite song, It's Fine.
Hello and welcome to Your New Favorite Song, podcast brought to you by the Enrons, where each week we will feature a recently released song from an independent artist. My name is Bernard Dennis and I'll be your host. Today I'm speaking to Ed Eagle about his song, It's Fine. Hello, Ed.
It's nice to finally see you and meet you in person. We've kind of known each other for a while now, so it's really cool to put a face and
Yeah,
a voice and all that to you.
yeah, and I have to say, I'm looking at your Spotify profile right now, and you look a lot less serious in person than you do on on your Spotify page. Yeah, right. So before the interview, I send the guest a list of questions from which they can select three for me to ask them at the beginning of the show in order to get to know them better. So here's the first question for Ed. Your spouse or children or whoever came in the room, and which website did you click away from?
So I heard your interview not long ago with Ya, and she's one of our moderators for the New Artist Spotlight. So absolutely, without a doubt, the New Artist Spotlight website, my family would be like, "Come on, Dad, seriously, how many times?" Because I put a lot of my extra free time when I'm not with family and not working into New Artist Spotlight. So it would be that.
Right, okay, because we're going to come back to the new artist spotlight in just a minute because that's something quite important that we share. So the second question is, have you ever been told you look like someone famous, and who was it?
So you can't tell now because I normally have my head shaved, and I've grown my little COVID haircut here. But
Okay,
normally I have my head shaved, and
yeah, you see mine.
yeah, we've all got a little bit of that. So, and I've been shaving my head since the '90s. So back then, I looked a lot more fit probably than I look now. And I'm a pretty large person. Ed Norton from American History X,
Oh,
minus all the awful, swastika and all that terrible
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
So none
yeah,
of his beliefs, but I used to get that a lot, a lot.
yeah. I can quite get that. Yeah, great film by the way, American History
I
X.
love that film.
It's just
Wow,
brilliant
it's
because
amazing.
Ed Norton was in. What else was he in? He was in something else before that, and it was kind of a bit of a softy character, and then all of a sudden he came into American History X. It was like, whoa,
Yeah,
completely
his
different.
first film.
Yeah.
Yeah, his first film. Now I can't think of him. It's one of my wife's favorite films. It was before Fight Club. Why can't I think of it? With Richard Gere. Richard Gere is his lawyer, and he's actually he's like a psychopath the entire movie. But so let's not tell him what movie it is. But at the very end, he won an Academy. He was at least nominated for an Academy Award for that film. It was his first film. It was his debut. So Ed
Okay.
Norton's amazing. Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
Yeah, he's brilliant, brilliant actor. So, Ed, come to the third question. When you die, what do you want to be remembered for?
Great dad. That's all. That's what I'm most. A great dad, a great husband.
So, how many
Those are
how many
my
kids
by
have you
far
got?
my biggest things.
How many kids have you
I
got?
have three children.
Three children,
Three.
and they're all school age.
Yeah, 12, 10, and 7.
Oh, that's still quite young. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah. And how are you dealing? How are you coping with three kids in the house at COVID time?
Yeah. They've been homeschooled. They're actually going back to school a week from Monday. Well, only one of them we're gonna keep two home. They're not comfortable going back, and I don't blame them. It's a tough, man. This is a tough time to be a parent, not only because of the homeschool and parents are saying, the kids are in my hair, but we've got to keep in mind also our kids are going to grow up through some strange times, and they're going to have some fears that no other generation since the turn of the previous century had. So we're going to have to really watch closely how they interact with others and how worried they are. So that's a whole. I mean, my song's about mental health, and I actually have a master's in counseling. Believe it or not, even though I work in sports, my master's degree is in counseling. So I'm very keenly aware of mental health and my own children's. And I don't want to get too far into it and private stuff, but yeah, it's something we have to keep an eye on. So it's a tough time. It's a tough time to be a parent. You
Yeah,
want to make sure your kids are safe. You want to make sure they're mentally taken care of. So you're trying to balance between
yeah.
making sure they're healthy and your whole family's healthy, and that they're not doing mental damage long term because of this isolation.
Well, I mean, I know you have quite a well, let's how like put it like this. I know something that's quite big in your life is this the question of mental health.
Hmm.
Um, your other podcast was on about struggling with mental health. for your whole life. Well, so I'd like to get into that a little bit. What I wanted to also say is that I also heard and read a lot about this issue, and when your kids feel loved and they're in a safe environment at home, they have this safe place to come to, then what happens in the outside world hasn't really got that much of a big impact. If they feel safe
Mm-hmm.
and in their own environment, then they can pretty much handle quite a lot of what's going on outside. Is when they don't have that, and that's the people that really are having a problem now. You see that in the Netherlands, we have this as well. Kids who are, one of the big concerns is kids who don't have a safe environment at home, who are really
This
suffering.
is an amazing, Bernard. You have just made an amazing segue into our interview.
Yeah, well, I'm good.
So I didn't have anxiety issues as a kid. Amazingly, I played a lot. I played sports all the time, even organized or unorganized. Was constantly running, very into sports, very like into athletics. So I feel that I burned off a lot of that negative energy. But
Yeah,
safety at home, amazing thing you talk about. So my parents had me when they were teenagers,
yeah.
and I come from a place that used to be a major steel producer and for the world, for World War II. We made a lot of the steel that was used in the war. And by the 80s, early 80s, the mills had shut down, late 70s, 80s. So people in my town became very
Is
poor.
that
I think there
Pennsylvania?
are a lot of, outside of Pittsburgh. I'm coming from a town called McKeesport.
Oh yeah,
And if you look it up, it's like the seventh most dangerous city in the United States right now, which tells you something from such a small town. So I grew up there. And when my parents were divorced when I was about 8, when I was 9, someone broke into our house and had a gun on my mother and I, threatened to kill us. And so I've been dealing with that since I was a little kid. My house burned down when I was in my fraternity house when I was in that in university. I was in it the night it hurt. Now we had our chimney fell through our roof when I was 7, almost landed where I would have been minutes earlier. Like I've had some crazy stuff happen in my life for a kid. I never really processed it.
yeah.
I never even told my mom that I was awake when that happened, where the guy broke in, was threatening to kill us until because I was in the same room. We were watching a movie, had fallen asleep on the main floor, wake up, and then there's someone there with a 357 Magnum, which is a very large gun, even
Yes.
if you're a kid and you don't know what it is. So yeah, and I didn't even tell her that until after I was in university. Like I kept it to myself. So those are the kind of things exactly that cause kind of scars later. And again, like I said, I'm pretty big. I'm pretty outgoing. I'm from a tough area, so you have to be tough. You can't let in any kind of fear. You have to be. You can. It's not like today, where people can say, "Hey, I'm dealing with this, I'm struggling."
Yeah.
They'll be like, flip off. Who
Yeah,
cares?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
we're all dealing with this
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think we're about the same age. I'm 50 this year, so I think I'm a little bit older than you are, maybe. Don't know.
No, I turned 50 in 3 weeks from today.
Okay, well, happy birthday already.
Thanks.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Coming, growing up in the 70s, there was just not the openness to share what was going
No.
on. I mean, in the UK when I grew up, it was very, very closed. Even now, it's everybody talks about the British stiff upper lip. So there's
Mm,
no talking about feelings or anything.
right,
We didn't
right.
talk about anything. The conversations I have with my son could not imagine having those conversations with my parents when I was that age. So,
Absolutely.
so I mean, we were
That's
talking.
part of the song.
I'm going to segue nicely into the song.
You're good at this.